Imagine living in communist China in 1950. You're a missionary, you've been warned to evacuate, and the new government won't grant you an exit permit. That's what happened to Arthur and Wilda Mathews, and that's what this book, Greenleaf and Drought Time, is about. Isobel Kuhn, the author of this book, was a missionary. She loved living with and helping the Lisu people of China, and they loved her too. In 1950, she was one of the lucky missionaries who left China when the evacuation order was given. Arthur and Wilda Mathews weren't so fortunate. They were in a remote Chinese village, Huangyan, near the city of Xining, in Qinghai province, and were denied exit permits. To make the situation even more heartrending, they were accompanied by their then one-year-old daughter, Lilah. While Arthur and Wilda dealt with a lot of deprivation, Isobel Kuhn waited, along with hundreds of other China Inland Mission missionaries, to find out what would happen to the Mathews family. Here's what the Mathews family experienced: isolation, deprivation, starvation, friendlessness, except for Jesus, of course, and a whole lot of love pouring down from the heavens above as they continued to be inspired and comforted by the Bible and their unfailing faith. You see, in 1949, the Chinese Civil War ended, and Chairman Mao took over and started the People's Republic of China. The political situation caused great fear in the Chinese people. Even though the Mathews family had been invited to serve as missionaries in Huangyan, by the time they arrived, they were no longer truly welcome, because conversing with foreigners was a danger to the Chinese Christians. The book is only 122 pages long, but it has made a great impact on Christians, especially those wanting to serve as missionaries. It shows how Christians can survive dark times of persecution and deprivation by relying on the grace of God. The symbol of a tree living through drought time is repeated throughout the book. This is from Jeremiah 17:8. For he shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh. But her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Arthur and Wilda and their little daughter, Lilah, thrived like green leaves in drought time because they were of a tree planted near flowing water, the water of eternal life, found in nearness to Jesus Christ. Isobel Kuhn wrote 9 other books, many of them autobiographical. I intend to read them. There have even been books written about her. Isobel Kuhn was raised a Christian, but strayed from the fold and did her own thing during her early adult years. After a heartbreaking relationship meltdown, she returned to Christ and trained for missionary service at the Moody Bible Institute in Chicago. She graduated in 1926, and a few years later was accepted by the China Inland Mission to serve in China. As she wrote Greenleaf and Drought Time during the 1950s, she was dying of cancer. She had to leave her missionary post in Thailand to return to the USA in 1954. She died in March 1957 in Wheaton, Illinois. That was the same year this book, Greenleaf and Drought Time, was published. I wasn't able to find nearly so much information about what happened to Arthur and Wilda Mathews after their experience in China from 1950 through 53. Arthur wrote 2 books, encouraged by friends to do so, prior to his death in 1978 from a terminal illness. His books are Born for Battle and Ready for Battle. His wife, Wilda, passed away 10 years later in 1988. They are both buried in Pennsylvania. I have no idea what happened to their little girl, Lilah. She's only 2 years older than I am. If you know her or know more about her, I would love to get comments telling me what happened to her. And if you can add to the history of Arthur and Wilda or Isobel Kuhn, please leave a comment so that future researchers will be able to find your information. In my video book reviews, my opinion comes last, so here it is. There's no doubt this is a classic and much-loved Christian book. I bought my copy in my church's bookstore. That is not to say that there are no faults in the book. I look at this from a writer's perspective. The book is inspiring and worth reading. I do wish, however, that the author had used suspense techniques to keep us guessing about the fate of these missionaries. Unfortunately, she revealed the outcome in the introduction to the book. My only other criticism is that at times the book lacked flow, so parts of it were difficult to understand. She interrupted the flow of the story to insert her philosophy, and I found that confusing, and when that happened I found myself glossing over those passages because they weren't part of the story. However, most people who read Greenleaf and Drought Time love the book. I don't mean to tread on sacred ground here by pointing out problems with the way the book was written. The author was dying of cancer when she wrote it. Perhaps she would have edited more if she had had the chance. Here are a few endnotes. First, the title of the book changed. It was originally Greenleaf and Drought Time. A more recent edition is titled Greenleaf and Drought, leaving out time. This recent edition, which happens to be the one I bought at my church, also gives the date of first publication as 1948. That's impossible. The events in the book took place from 1950 through 1953. Does that make my copy of the book a collector's item? Thanks for listening to my video book review of Greenleaf and Drought Time. A great book. And I want to thank my friend Judy for suggesting that I read it. I will place more information and links in the description area of the page on YouTube. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and leave a comment.